Chapter 8 really can't stop. The summer became autumn. The dead leaves whirled along with the wind as they finally landed on the school grounds. On the side of the school grounds was a dense shade of trees. The afternoon sunlight shone through a gap in the leaves, turning into threads of light, like a particular autumn stage. For Mo Fan, the time passed by very quickly. It had already been 2 months since his awakening. Within those 2 months, Mo Fan had only been doing one thing, which was sitting beneath this tree and meditating. On the first class of the first day, the homeroom teacher, Shui Misheng, gave all the magic students one very important lesson: the activation of magic. The activation of magic consisted of only 3 very simple steps. 1. Meditation. 2. Control. 3. Activation. Meditation, just as the name implied, required one to use their fullest attention to concentrate. When a person closed their eyes, their mind constantly wandered into different scenes. However, if one were to empty one's mind and remain in an undisturbed state, one's mind would become an empty space. After their magic awakening, a star cluster corresponding to the element would emerge within that empty world. In other words, as long as Mo Fan closed his eyes and didn't think about anything while allowing his mind to enter a dark, cosmos-like space, then the star cluster of lightning and fire elements would emerge within the empty space. The lightning element's star cluster was purple, and it looked just like other cosmic dust, magnificent and aesthetically pleasing. Within the star cluster of the lightning element was 7 stars. These stars were recklessly orbiting around within that small star cluster, just like 7 mischievous children, energetically running around. For any magic students who had awakened, as long as they could cause the star cluster to appear within the empty space, and see the bright, childlike stars within the cluster, then they would have completed the meditation step. One could even say that this first step was unexpectedly simple. The homework assigned to the students for the first 2 months was this alone. Meditation. They started meditating after dinner, all the way until they were completely exhausted, and then they went to sleep. The second day, after classes had finished, they continued meditating in the same manner. All the way until they were exhausted, and then went straight to bed. Mo Fan did not slack off. He did this for 2 whole months. He even sat down and meditated on weekends. On many different occasions, he pondered about why the students were assigned this simple task and had them do it for 2 months. What if I go ahead and try control? Mo Fan thought it was very easy for him to enter meditation. Thus, he was eager to begin the next step. The second step of magic activation was also very simple. One could see the star cluster after entering meditation. Within the star cluster was 7 lively and energetic stars that were orbiting around frantically. Control. It meant they had to use their own thoughts to control these stars, making them stop, and placing them into a designated spot to form a star path. Once they had successfully formed the star path, the magic power would be conducted through the star path into the magician's body, thus becoming genuine magic as they activate it. They sure run fast. Let this daddy touch you. Mo Fan began attempting to connect the stars. He used his own thoughts to control the stars. At the moment, Mo Fan was locked on an energetic star, trying to make it obediently halt in its place. Whoosh! That star was extremely cold. It didn't give Mo Fan any attention. It was like a loli quickly escaping from a strange uncle. Shit, they're being re-narrate. Forget it. Let's try a different one. Mo Fan attempted to connect the other lightning element star. Be a good boy. Daddy is here. Be an obedient boy, and come here. Whoosh! The second star acted as though it met a patient with a mental illness. Thus, it fled quickly, just like the one before it. Mo Fan attempted the same thing on the other stars as well, but the results were the same. Not a single one cared about Mo Fan. There were even a few that started moving faster when they felt Mo Fan's thoughts trying to control them. You couldn't conduct the magic power when the stars were quickly orbiting. It's just like an electrical wire. The electric energy is the interior part of the star cluster. If one wanted to use the electric energy, one would have to form a wire with the stars so it could guide the energy into the magician's body. Unfortunately, there was not a single obedient one among the lightning element stars. If he didn't touch them, then they were fine, but once he attempted to connect them with each other, they would quickly run away. It was like eating 500 pounds of dried gum pieces. They just wouldn't stop. How do I deal with this? How many years and months is it going to take before this daddy learns lightning strike? Mo Fan felt a headache. The primary rank skill of lightning element was lightning strike. This skill should be the most practical one among the primary rank magic. After learning it and becoming proficient in controlling it, one would basically have a preeminent combat prowess. Unfortunately, learning skills wasn't easy. The lightning element stars were highly active. Trying to make them stop was not something one could accomplish in just a day or two. I can't even control a single star at the moment. To control 7 of the stars simultaneously. This road really isn't short. Sure enough, studying and learning magic was the same. It wasn't something you could do in just a few days. The weather turned cold, the short skirts and stockings were replaced with thick leggings and pants. Unknowingly, the season where you turn into a dog if you don't own a heater had finally come to the south. Achoo! Shit, if I knew this was gonna happen, then I would have just cultivated the fire element first. At the very least, I'd be able to pass this winter in comfort. In the early morning, Mo Fan cursed as he practiced control on the roof. He had cultivated for yet another month. Mo Fan was now able to control up to 4 stars. The process of controlling the stars. Well, how to put this? It's like an advanced domino setup. In other words, if you were to carefully place 4 domino bricks down, and if there was not even the slightest wobbling, then it would count as completing a small step. If a domino brick wasn't placed properly, then it'd tip over and you'd have to start all over again. The stars were just like that. Firstly, you would have to target a star and use your thoughts to make it stop. In the process of making them stop, you would have to concentrate all of your attention on it. Even if you experienced resistance from a star that led to a great headache, you'd still have to grit your teeth and not let it distract your focus. Only when grinding your teeth could you centralize your focus within your mind to control them and make them stop. Only then could you make some of the violent stars obediently follow your control. After you were in control of one star, then you would have to split your consciousness and do the same thing in order for you to firmly control the second one. If one were to accidentally put too much attention on the second star, and not continue to put in the same focus on the first one, then the originally obedient star would immediately orbit away. Additionally, it would also take away the second star that was in the process of being controlled, and waste the entire effort. The teacher had said once before, the step of controlling the stars was extremely difficult. On one hand, the difficulty of controlling them was exceedingly high, while on the other, the magician needed to have enough spiritual power to spare. If one were to practice control every day, like Mo Fan, and every time they failed at it, they would feel their mind become somewhat tired. One could practice for, at most, 2 hours in a single day, and by then, one would be in a state where one was nearly mentally broken. One would have tinnitus, blurred vision, and a mind in chaos. At this point, one should not meditate or attempt control again. To be frank, practicing control was like a thief. Hell, a waste of mana. Mo Fan could only last, at most, 2 hours with his current mana. Chapter 9: The 7th Star. 4 stars is firmly under my control now. The difficulty of controlling 5 at the same time is much harder. Mo Fan sighed and thought, I wonder if I can control all 7 of these scoundrels and form a star path before the end of the semester? Speaking of which, Monkey said that most people can only practice control an hour every week. If they trained an additional 5 minutes, then they'd collapse. I wonder why I could practice 2 hours when I first started. Is it because I awakened dual elements? The mana usage in taking control of a star should be the same. That means my mana capacity is double the amount of most other people? There was a limit to each of the magic students' spiritual forces, and every time one attempted to control a star, it would deplete their spiritual force. Most of the current magic students' spiritual force levels only allowed 1 hour of control training. Having 1 more hour advantage, coupled with the great effort Mo Fan put into his daily training, allowed his cultivation speed to already surpass his peers by a lot. According to the henchman, even the most outstanding student in the class could only control 3 stars. Of the 7 stars, Mo Fan was already able to control 4 of them. Furthermore, he hoped to achieve up to 5 stars within the month. It seemed like awakening dual elements not only gave Mo Fan double the elements, but also an extended amount of time for him to practice compared to other people. This was an incredible advantage. The time for him to enter the apex of his life and marry a fair-skinned, rich, and beautiful girl was just around the corner. The class started at 8 in the morning, and the first class was the Magical Beast Knowledge class. The one in charge of teaching the magical beast subject was the homeroom teacher of the class next door, Zhang Jianguo. "Mo Fan, you are late again. Can't you improve your attitude toward school? Your talent has always been worse than the majority of the students, your foundation is also particularly bad, and you're not even sincere about studying. Take a look at Zhao Ting in my class. He has lightning element, a good talent, a good foundation, and his attitude toward studying magic is also very good. He is currently able to control 4 lightning element stars, whereas you. I heard that you still haven't been able to control a single fire element star. Your awakening the fire element is simply a waste." As Zhang Jianguo saw Mo Fan coming in late, he immediately began to reprimand him without holding back. Mo Fan couldn't help but give a conceited look. Teacher Zhang Jianguo really couldn't stop talking. He brought up that lightning element guy during practically every lesson. The so-called classmate, Zhao Ting, was the guy who awakened the lightning element during the school's opening ceremony. Zhang Jianguo talked about him every day. When he lectured someone using Zhao Ting's name, his face revealed the pride he concealed beneath. "That guy can control 4 stars? This daddy can control 6 stars. I just need 1 last star," Mo Fan thought to himself in disdain. He didn't say this out loud though. Instead, he just walked to his seat in leisure. "Alright, please open the magical beast book. Today, I will continue to talk about the common magical beasts. As everyone knows, the magical beasts are located outside of the city, which we humans reside in, and they are extremely hostile towards humans. They wander all over the place and fight when they encounter each other, as well. If a magician was to tread outside of the city and encounter a one-eyed magic wolf, then what should he do?" Zhang Jianguo already started talking about this subject with great delight. One-eyed magic wolf. This was the kind of magical beast that resided in the area closest to the human city. Mo Fan had only seen one through the textbooks and videos. They had a vicious appearance. A normal person was unable to deal with this kind of organism. Only a mage was able to battle them. However, if the group of magic students, who couldn't activate their magic, was to meet a one-eyed magic wolf, then it'd be a bloody massacre. The one-eyed magic wolf was the highlight of the magical beast classes. Zhang Jianguo had already spent a month talking about this type of magical beast, which by this point, annoyed Mo Fan. Currently, Mo Fan relied on his double cultivation time to reach the control of 6 stars. As long as he could focus his mind, then he could make the 6 stars obediently form a star path. The thing is, the 7th star was particularly difficult to control. It was like a chaste girl. Go soft, and you'll suffer. Go hard, and she won't listen. This made Mo Fan feel particularly anxious. "I'm just bloody missing this one last step. Brother Fan, how is the cultivation progress of the fire element?" Zhang Hu hastily asked as he saw Mo Fan sitting down. The same as before, Mo Fan answered leisurely. Fire element. Just like the rumors Zhang Jianguo had heard, Mo Fan was still unable to control a single fire element star. That was something he could do nothing about. He had invested all of his energy on the big shot, lightning element student, this entire semester. "No way. It seems like your foundation really has affected your cultivation. I heard that guy, Mu Bai, is already able to control 4 ice element stars. If he were to put even more effort in during his winter vacation, then he will most likely be able to activate the primary rank ice element skill, Ice Spiral," Zhang Hu said. "I know, big brother. How are you not anxious at all? Let me tell you, him and his henchman, Zhao Kunsen, are already scheming a plan against you. Don't worry, let them come." Mo Fan's current mind was full of how to control the 7th star. Everything else was treated the same as air. Zhang Hu sighed. "Just be careful. This semester is almost over. You should really do your best in the next semester. If you can't complete the magic activation during the next semester's end-of-term magic activation exam, then the school could find all kinds of excuses to force you to resign." The school semester quickly ended, and Mo Fan faintly felt the 7th star being moved by his sincerity. Damn it. Cultivation is even harder than awaiting the presence of a goddess, trying to communicate and pay my greetings every day and night. Mo Fan complained as he walked toward the school exit. Mo Fan had practically never left the school during the entire semester. He would spend 2 hours every day to practice control, and after practicing that, he'd spend the next 10 hours to meditate. Afterward, he'd just go to class, eat his meal, and sleep without ceasing for a single day. Regardless of what happened, this semester was over. After the students received their winter semester assignment, each went their way home, and each went to find their own mom. After exiting the school gates, Mo Fan subconsciously waited for the bus to go home to his house. However, he then realized and immediately became speechless. I almost forgot that Dad sold the house. I am essentially homeless now. Father Mo Jiaxing spent most of his time driving, which meant he didn't have time for a house. The homeless Mo Fan thought about this. It seems like it's time to see little aunt and pay a visit to Xin Sha. It's been half a year not seeing Xin Sha. I wonder how she's doing at little aunt's place. I'll just go straight to her school to pick her up then. Mo Fan caught the bus heading toward her middle school. Sitting on the bus, Mo Fan had nothing to do, so he continued to practice control to see whether the seventh star would submit itself or not. A different element had different stars, and each different star had a different temperament. Some were easier to deceive. Mo Fan only needed to spend a few nights sweet-talking them, and most of them would then listen. However, some were especially violent and hard to deal with. If you weren't careful, you could suffer a rebound in your mind. That kind of rebound carried a dense pain to the mind. The usage of spiritual power would also be several times greater. The seventh star that Mo Fan was unable to control belonged to the violent type. It didn't listen. It attacked brutally, and it was simply as difficult to accommodate as a great aunt. Fortunately for him, recently their relationship had advanced by leaps and bounds. The violent star was slowly displaying a will to listen, otherwise, Mo Fan would really cry. He had spent almost an entire month on this seventh star.